Good evening, and thank you for joining us for the China Distance Education Holdings Limited third quarter fiscal year 2020 earnings conference call. On today's call, we have Mr. Zhengbang Zhu, Chairman and CEO, and Mr. Mark Marostica, Co-CFO. During management's prepared remarks, all participants will be in a listen-only mode. Following management's prepared remarks, we will open the call for questions. Before we start, we remind listeners that this conference call contains forward-looking statements. These statements are made under the safe harbor provisions of the U.S. Private Securities Litigation Reform Act of 1995. The outlook for the fourth quarter and full fiscal year 2020, oral statements from management on this call, as well as the company's strategic and operational plans, in particular, the impact of COVID-19 on our business, the solutions we adopt to address COVID-19, balancing growth and profitability, the growth prospects of online professional education in China, as well as the anticipated benefits of our strategic growth initiatives, including the promotion of the company's lifelong learning ecosystem, among other things, may contain forward-looking statements. In addition, with respect to the going private proposal, there can be no assurance that the buyer group will make any definitive offer to the company, that any definitive agreement relating to the proposal will be entered into between the company and the buyer group, or that a transaction based on the proposal or any other similar transaction will be approved or consummated. Forward-looking statements involve inherent risks and uncertainties. A number of factors could cause actual results to differ materially from those contained in any forward-looking statement. Further information regarding this and other risks is included in the company's annual report on Form 20-F and in other documents of the company as filed with the Securities and Exchange Commission. The company does not undertake any obligation to update any forward-looking statements except as required under applicable law. As a reminder, this conference call is being recorded. In addition, the presentation we will be referring to during the course of the call can be downloaded from the company's investor relations website. Further, a live and archived webcast of this conference call will also be available on the company's IR website at ir.cdeledu.com. I will now turn the call over to Mr. Zhu. Mr. Zhu, please go ahead.
感谢大家参加正保远程教育2020财年第三季度业绩讨论电话会议。公司的业绩报告已于不久前通过公司网站和新闻稿进行了发布，大家也可以在我们的网站下载关于业绩报告的幻灯片。
Thank you, everyone, for joining our third quarter fiscal year 2020 earnings conference call. Our operating results were distributed earlier via Internet Newswire services and are also posted on our website, where a slide presentation is available as well.
请看幻灯片第4页，我们的业绩概述。
If you will now refer to the presentation, I will begin on slide 4 with an overview of our financial results.
2020财年第三季度的净收入为5070万美元，同比下降了17.9%，符合我们此前给出的预期范围。本季度净收入同比下降，主要是由于我们针对新冠疫情推出的公益性课程，导致我们第三季度的交费课程现金收入出现同比下降，以及部分职业考试因新冠疫情而推迟举行。另外，受新冠肺炎疫情的影响，与院校相关的模拟实行软件销售收入及线下培训课程收入的大幅减少，也致使我们本季度净收入进一步减少。
In the third quarter of fiscal 2020, we recorded revenue of $50.7 million, representing a decrease of 17.9% compared with the prior year period, in line with our guidance range. The year-over-year decline in third quarter revenue was largely attributable to the decrease in cash receipts for our courses due to our socially responsive actions in the wake of the COVID-19 outbreak. together with the postponement of certain professional certification examinations. The decline in revenue was also attributable to significant decreases in revenue from both the sale of college-related learning simulation software and the provision of offline training courses, resulting from the impact of COVID-19.
新冠肺炎疫情期间，线下培训课程全面暂停。为了协助抗击疫情以及支持我们的学员，自疫情爆发至今年4月，我们为湖北地区的学员免费开放了高质量的在线职业教育课程，而全国其他地区的学员则可在选报时享受极大的优惠力度。我们在第二财季推出的公益性课程，有效地拉动了学员的需求，因此我们第二财季的网络课程交费学员人数迅速增长。但是我们第三季度交费学员人数和现金收入的增长也因此受到了影响。
To help combat the pandemic and support our students across China with high-quality online professional education at a time when offline classes were suspended, we provided free online courses to students in Hubei province and significant discounts for certain online exam preparation courses to students outside Hubei from the onset of the pandemic through April 2020. These socially responsive actions effectively pulled forward the demand for our courses in our second fiscal quarter, as evidenced by the surge in enrollment during our second fiscal quarter as previously reported, and thus dampened our enrollment and cash receipts growth in our third fiscal quarter.
进入第4财季以来，尽管网络课程缴费现金收入与去年同期相比仍有近20%的下降，但较第3财季31%的同比下降已呈现出显著改善，这使我们备受鼓舞。
We are encouraged by the progress of our cash receipts from online course registration as we entered the fourth fiscal quarter. Although cash receipts were down less than 20% year over year during the first half of our fourth fiscal quarter, it's a noteworthy improvement from the 31% year over year decline of cash receipts in our third fiscal quarter.
下面和大家分享一下近期的考试资讯。受新冠肺炎疫情的影响，北京等部分地区宣布今年的会计职称考试的等部分职业资格考试将并入下一年度统一开展。在当前这一充满挑战的时期，我们仍然会极尽全力支持我们的学员，为受考试推迟影响的学员免费延长课程的有效期。
I would now like to provide an update on the examination schedule. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, a number of core professional certification examinations held in Beijing and several other cities are postponed to the following year. Despite these exam postponements, we remain committed to supporting our students during these challenging times by extending the study period of their courses.
在市场推广方面，我们继续在广告和促销活动方面进行审慎的投入，以提高我们的市场渗透率。除了通过我们的自由网站和学习论坛进行引流以外，我们还与天猫和微信等有影响力的电商平台和社交媒体建立合作，通过多管齐下的招生策略，扩大我们的品牌影响力和知名度。此外，经过20年的悉心经营，我们为学员提供的优质教育内容和增值服务不断提升我们的品牌价值，口碑日益攀升。
Turning to the marketing front, we continue to make prudent investments in our advertising and promotional efforts as we seek to enhance our market penetration. Through our multi-pronged student acquisition strategy, which aims to amplify our exposure to potential students, we collaborate with influential e-commerce and social media platforms such as Tmall and WeChat, in addition to building student awareness via our own websites and online communities. Moreover, with decades of operation under our belt, our high-quality courses and value-added services have gained us strong brand equity and garnered considerable word-of-mouth referrals.
随着移动设备逐渐成为学员们的重要学习工具，我们的移动解决方案也获得越来越多学员的青睐。我们持续致力于升级和优化移动教育产品，旨在为学员提供优质而便捷的教育内容和服务， 截至2020年6月30号，我们提供了59款移动应用，累计下载量从2020年3月31号的6600万次增长到6870万次。第三财季，我们移动端的日均流量持续增长，会计、医学和建设工程领域的日均活跃用户数量分别同比增长46.3%、13.8%和118.5%。
Our mobile solutions and applications are increasing in popularity among our students, as mobile devices have become a critical tool in furthering their studies. In light of this, we continue to upgrade and advance our mobile offerings to provide students with highly sought-after exam preparation content and services, and to accommodate their various learning styles and preferences. As of June 30th, 2020, China Distance Education offered 59 mobile apps and recorded cumulative downloads of 68.7 million, up from 66 million as of March 31st, 2020. In the third quarter, daily traffic to our mobile website continued to increase, with daily active users in our accounting, healthcare, and engineering and construction verticals increasing by 46.3%, 13.8%, and 118.5% year-over-year, respectively.
我的业务情况和公司战略的介绍就到这里。现在有请联席 CFO Mark 先生给大家介绍一下主要的运营和财务数据。
This concludes my update on our business operations and strategy. I will now turn the call over to Mark, our co-CFO, to walk through key operating metrics and financials. Thank you. As Mr. Zhu previously discussed, our socially responsive actions during the COVID-19 pandemic, together with the postponement of certain professional certification exams, among others, have negatively impacted our top-line performance and consequently have dampened our operating profitability. Yet despite these challenges, we continue to maintain a disciplined cost structure and were able to achieve a non-GAAP operating margin of 6.2% in our third fiscal quarter. Now let me summarize some of our key operating metrics on slides 6 and 7. Enrollments in online test preparation courses were generally muted in the third quarter, primarily due to the pull forward of demand for our courses in our second fiscal quarter, as a result of our socially responsive actions in the wake of the COVID-19 outbreak. Enrollments in our online accounting test preparation courses were down 8.1% year-over-year in the third quarter, primarily due to a decline in Accounting Professional Qualification Exam, or APQE, course enrollments, partially offset by a high single-digit increase in Certified Public Accountant, or CPA, course enrollments. Third quarter enrollments in our accounting continuing education courses increased by 19.5% compared with the year-ago period. Total online accounting test preparation ASPs decreased by 36.2% year-over-year in the third quarter, primarily due to our socially responsive actions during the COVID-19 pandemic. The ASPs for accounting continuing education courses decreased by 23.7% year-over-year in the third quarter. Enrollments in our online healthcare test preparation courses in the third quarter of fiscal 2020 decreased by 43% year-over-year, primarily due to the pull forward of demand for our healthcare courses in our second fiscal quarter, as previously noted. ASPs for our healthcare test preparation courses, however, increased by 35.3% year-over-year, mainly due to a higher mix of relatively higher ASP elite healthcare course enrollments. Enrollments in our online engineering and construction, or ENC, test preparation courses increased by 2.9% year-over-year in the third quarter. ASPs for our ENC test preparation courses in the third quarter decreased by 39% year-over-year, primarily due to our socially responsive actions during the COVID-19 pandemic. Enrollments in our ENC continuing education courses increased by 13.7% year-over-year in the third quarter. ASPs for ENC continuing education courses decreased by 8.9% year-over-year in the third quarter. Now let's look at some of our financial metrics. To be mindful of the length of our earnings call, I will focus primarily on key financial highlights and encourage listeners to refer to our earnings press release and financial filings for further details. Non-GAAP gross margin was 47.5% in the third fiscal quarter, compared with 50.5% in the third quarter of fiscal year 2019. The year-over-year decrease in gross margin was primarily due to the year-over-year decline in revenue, coupled with relatively stable salaries and related expenses compared with the year-ago period. Non-GAAP selling expenses increased by 4.5% to $17.8 million in the third quarter of fiscal 2020 from $17 million in the prior year period, driven primarily by increases in advertising and promotional expenses and commissions to agents. Non-GAAP general and administrative expenses increased by 7% to $4.8 million in the third quarter of fiscal year 2020 from $4.4 million in the prior year period. The increase was mainly due to higher share-based compensation expenses. Overall, non-GAAP operating income for the third quarter of fiscal year 2020 was $3.2 million, compared with non-GAAP operating income of $10.4 million in the prior year period. In the third quarter of fiscal 2020, we recorded a non-cash foreign currency exchange loss of approximately $200,000, mainly related to loans from our PRC subsidiaries to our offshore holding company, due to the appreciation of the renminbi against the US dollar from March 31st, 2020 to June 30th, 2020. We recorded a non-cash foreign currency exchange gain of $2 million in the prior year period. Income tax expenses were approximately $600,000 in the third quarter of fiscal year 2020, compared with income tax expense of approximately $2.5 million in the prior year period, primarily due to lower taxable income in the third quarter of fiscal 2020. Non-GAAP net income attributable to CDEL was $3.7 million in the third quarter of fiscal year 2020, compared with non-GAAP net income attributable to CDEL of $10 million in the prior year period. Now let's turn to slide 11 to review our cash flow. Net operating cash inflow decreased by 59.2% to $7.2 million in the third quarter of fiscal 2020 from $17.6 million in the prior year period. The operating cash inflow was mainly attributable to net income before non-cash items generated in the third quarter of fiscal 2020. The increase in accrued expenses and other liabilities also contributed to the operating cash inflow. The operating cash inflow is partially offset by the decrease in deferred revenue and the decrease and increase in amount due to and from related parties, respectively. Cash and cash equivalents, term deposits, restricted cash and short-term investments as of June 30th, 2020 increased by 2.7% to $133.7 million from $130.2 million as of March 31st, 2020, mainly due to the operating cash inflow generated in the third quarter of fiscal 2020 and the drawdown of an offshore loan of $20 million. The increase was partially offset by the dividend distribution of $19.6 million, the repayment of an offshore loan of $2.8 million, the payment of an investment of approximately $700,000, and a capital expenditure of approximately $600,000. This completes my financial overview. Next, I would like to provide additional color regarding the potential impact of COVID-19 on our financial performance over the next few quarters. As Mr. Zhu discussed earlier, Beijing Professional Examination Administration authorities recently announced the postponement of several 2020 professional certification examinations to 2021 due to COVID-19. As such, our fourth fiscal quarter GAAP revenue will be negatively impacted as the corresponding cash receipts from the courses related to these examinations will be recognized over a longer expected service period. Turning to the going private proposal, on June 8, 2020, CDEL's Board of Directors received a preliminary non-binding proposal letter from Mr. Zhengdong Zhu, co-founder, chairman of the board, and chief executive officer of the company, Ms. Baohong Yin, co-founder of the company, Deputy Chairman of the Board, and the spouse of Mr. Zhu and their affiliated entity, collectively the buyer group, to acquire all of the outstanding ordinary shares of the company, including ordinary shares represented by American Depositary Shares, or ADSs, each representing 4 ordinary shares, for $2.27 in cash per ordinary share, or $9.08 in cash per ADS. On June 22, 2020, the company announced that the board had formed a special committee of independent directors consisting of Ms. Carol Yu and Ms. Annabelle Yulong to review and evaluate the proposal. And the special committee had retained Golson & Storrs PC as its U.S. legal counsel in connection with its review and evaluation of the proposal. And on July 29, 2020, the company announced that the special committee had retained Duff & Phelps LLC as a special committee's financial advisor in connection with its review and evaluation of the proposal. I will now return the call to Mr. Zhu for concluding remarks, as well as financial guidance for the fourth quarter. Mr. Zhu, please.
Thank you, Mark. 在过去20年间，正保远程教育始终秉承着为全国各地的广大学员服务的初心，并以实际行动履行社会职责。我们相信教育的力量，也见证了许多通过学习改变未来的学员。他们借助正保多样化的课程，不断拓宽专业知识，提升职业技能，进而实现了自我提升和职业进阶。
With over 2 decades of experience serving our student communities across China, CDEL has demonstrated an unwavering commitment to fulfilling its social responsibilities. We believe in the power of education and have witnessed how education can enrich people's lives through our various education courses by expanding their knowledge base, improving their professional skills, and enabling them to achieve self-improvement and career advancement.
我们一直走在时代前列，应用一线的技术完善我们的教育解决方案，为学员提供优质的学习体验。我们的录播课程、直播课程、移动学习软件以及模拟实训软件，为学员提供了多样化的学习方式，以满足他们不同的学习习惯和偏好。
We remain at the forefront in harnessing innovative and cutting-edge learning technology to enhance our educational solutions, aimed at providing a superior learning experience for our students. Our pre-recorded audiovisual, mobile, and live streaming courses, as well as our learning simulation software, offer diverse learning methods for students, addressing their various learning styles and preferences.
作为一种安全且无接触的教学方式，在线教育的重要性在新冠肺炎疫情期间得以凸显，使所有可接入网络的学员能够便捷地获取学习内容。在当下充满挑战的时期，已经逐渐成为被人们广泛接受的教学方式。此外，由于此次宏观经济的变化和随之而来的不确定性，人们愈发意识到终身学习的重要性。只有持续更新专业知识和职业技能，我们才能够更好地适应瞬息万变的市场环境。
The importance of online education as a safe and contactless instructional delivery method has clearly been elevated during the COVID-19 pandemic. Online education has become a widely accepted instructional delivery method that offers easy access to educational content for all with internet access, and a popular learning modality for students to continue learning during this challenging time. In addition, with the sudden changes to the macroeconomy and ensuing uncertainties, people are increasingly aware of the importance of learning as a lifelong pursuit. By continually upgrading knowledge and acquiring new professional skills, individuals are better prepared to navigate through the rapidly evolving market environment.
为了把握中国在线教育市场的巨大机遇，多年来我们始终坚持在会计、医学、建设工程和法律等核心行业领域的精耕细作，致力于成为学员终身学习旅途中的良师益友。通过我们日益完善的终身教育体系，为学员提供全方位的增值服务，旨在帮助学员增进知识、取得证书、实现晋升、成就自我。
To address China's significant online education market opportunity, we have been relentlessly building our robust lifelong learning ecosystem supported by 4 key industry verticals: accounting, healthcare, engineering and construction, and legal. Our comprehensive ecosystem also encompasses a variety of value-added services that help our students enhance their knowledge, achieve professional certifications, and advance in their chosen career fields. We remain committed to being the premier partner of choice for our students in their journey of lifelong learning.
展望2020财年第4季度，我们预计公司的净收入在5840万美元至6180万美元之间，同比下降大约在15%至10%之间。
Turning to guidance, for the fourth quarter of fiscal year 2020, the company expects to generate total net revenue in the range of $58.4 million to $61.8 million, representing a year-over-year decline in the range of approximately 15% to 10% respectively.
展望2020财年全年，我们预计公司的净收入在2.024亿美元至2.058亿美元之间，同比下降大约在4.4%至2.8%之间。
For fiscal year 2020, the company expects to generate total net revenue in the range of $202.4 million to $205.8 million, representing a year-over-year decline of approximately 4.4% to 2.8% respectively.
我的介绍到此结束，感谢各位宝贵的时间。在我们开始问答环节前，我想请大家注意，除了我们此前介绍中关于私有化邀约进展的更新，我们将不再对此做额外的评论。我们现在可以接受大家的提问。
This concludes my prepared remarks. Thank you for your time. Before I turn it over to the operator for questions, please understand that we will not be providing further commentary regarding the go private proposal outside of the update provided during our prepared remarks. Operator, we're now happy to take questions.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will now begin the question and answer session. If you wish to ask a question, please press star 1 on your telephone and wait for your name to be announced. If you wish to cancel your request, please press the pound or hash key. For the benefit of all callers participating in today's call, if you wish to ask your question to management in Chinese, please also immediately restate your question in English. Your first question comes from the line of Greg Stendy. Please ask your question.
Hey, thanks for taking my questions. Just a couple. I guess, first of all, I appreciate you guys providing the fourth quarter guidance, but can you kind of give us a little bit of color on the visibility you might have? A lot of companies do not have much and would not be providing guidance, so just kind of worried. Thinking about some of the big exams that I think take place in October and kind of the visibility, should there be push-outs, and how should we think about that?
Yes, thanks, Greg, for your question. Yeah, certainly it's an unprecedented time here with COVID-19 and the challenges that we're facing with exam postponements. Having said that, our guidance reflects the current information that we have and the exam postponements that have occurred. Having said that, there are certainly other examinations like CPA and Legal Professional Qualification Exam, which are held in October and November respectively, that are still on the books to be held. So, there undeniably is some risk there. But, our guidance reflects the current information that we have at the moment.
Okay, great. That's helpful. And then just moving on, I guess earlier in your remarks, you guys had mentioned the marketing side of things. Can you just give us a little bit of color on how you're thinking about, I guess on a go-forward basis after showcasing sort of the online learning modality and a lot of your searches, seeing some increases, just how you're thinking about using agents versus direct advertising in terms of generating new student leads?
There's no change to our student acquisition strategy. We have a multi-pronged strategy that we've had in place for many, many years that drives student acquisition through direct channels, such as word-of-mouth referrals, which is the most prominent, as well as paid search and others. And in addition, we rely on offline agents, offline distribution, as well as online distribution agents as well. So, consider our approach going forward to really, follow the current multi-pronged approach, and we assess the various efforts along the lines of those different types of student acquisition strategies on an ongoing basis and adjust accordingly based on market conditions.
Great, that's helpful. And then if I could just get one more in, can you just, I guess, give us sort of the big picture after showcasing sort of in 2Q the online learning modality to a lot of students who would typically have been sort of in a classroom environment. When will we, or what can we look for, and when will we potentially see where the market shares of offline and online kind of shake out? I mean, would that would we have to wait till 2Q of next year? Just trying to understand, I guess, whether online has sort of gained share throughout this, on a go-forward basis throughout this epidemic.
Great question, Greg. We are still early as to seeing the impacts of COVID-19 on online. Having said that, there are a couple of data points that I'd like to highlight that I think show us the popularity of online during this period, and we believe will likely provide somewhat of a window in the future. First of all, RADA is a great example. RADA, of course, is our legal professional qualification exam provider for exam preparation. RADA enjoyed very healthy online enrollment growth when its offline enrollments went quiet. And I think that's a very interesting dynamic. It shows the power of online for a business that relies heavily on offline campus solutions. Secondly, and we said this earlier on the last call actually, but I want to repeat it, more than 40% of the students who enrolled in our CPA exam prep courses during the period when we offered the free and significantly discounted courses, that mind you is about around 60,000 CPA enrollments, in fact, spent over 10 hours studying on our learning platform. This level of student engagement shows that students very much appreciate online learning in this challenging time, as well as our courseware. So, again, it's early, admittedly, to make any long-ranging judgments as to how online education will play out relative to offline. But we're very encouraged by what we see, and we do know things. We do know things about student behavior at the present, whereby people are hesitant to step into the classroom. They're worried about their safety, and online is a safe and contactless learning modality for people to continue learning, which they do want to do. We know that, and we're very encouraged by this and the future prospects of online education and on our business.
Great. That's helpful. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Greg.
Once again, if you wish to ask a question, please press star and the number 1 on your telephone keypad. If there are no further questions, I would now like to turn the call back to Mark for closing remarks.
Thank you, operator. On behalf of the management team, we thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to updating you on our progress.
Ladies and gentlemen, that does conclude our conference for today. Thank you for participating. You may now all disconnect.